Martha had lived alone in the swamp for 20 years. No phone, no internet, just her cabin, the trees, and the water. She liked it that way. People were noisy, and people were nosy. People lied. The swamp was honest, but the rain had been falling for 5 days straight, harder each time, turning the narrow dirt paths to slop. The water rose past the tree roots, slithering up the porch steps. The frogs and insects had gone quiet. By the 6th night, she heard them. Voices. At first, they whispered through the cypress trees, soft as the wind. Then came the footsteps, wet, deliberate squelches in the mud. She peered out the window, but saw only the black of the flooded woods. The storm had swallowed the moon. Then something knocked. 3 slow, heavy raps against the door. Martha's hands curled around her shotgun, her pulse a steady thrum. "Who's there?" she called. Silence answered. Another knock. This time she saw the shadow through the rain-streaked window. Shape too tall, too thin. It wasn't a man. The shoulders bent the wrong way. The head cocked too far to the side, like a dead bird hanging from a branch. She backed away, her breath shallow. A third knock, then another, and another. A chorus of dull, patient thuds against the walls, the door, the glass. Her cabin was surrounded. The doorknob turned. Martha leveled the shotgun, aiming at the door. "I don't know what you are," she rasped, "but you ain't welcome." The whispering stopped. The knocking ceased. For a long moment, there was only the rain. Then came the sound of water rushing inside. Martha gasped as she felt it, cold, slimy, ankle deep. It shouldn't be there. The door was closed, the windows locked, but the flood was inside now, creeping up her legs, dragging something with it, something with too many fingers. The lights flickered. A new voice, deep and gurgling, rose from the shadows behind her. "We didn't need the door." Martha spun around, shotgun raised, but there was nothing there, only the dark, the flickering light, and the water rising fast. It had reached her knees now, thick as swamp muck, reeking of rot. She took a shaky step back, her boot sinking into something soft beneath the surface. Something that shifted. A hand. She jerked away as pale, bloated fingers broke the water's surface, clawing at her leg. Another hand surfaced beside it, then another. The flood was crawling with them, writhing, grasping. A deep, wet breath sounded behind her. Martha turned and saw it. The thing stood in the corner of the room, half submerged in the water. Its skin was the color of drowned flesh, sagging like something long dead and waterlogged. Its head lolled on its too thin neck, tilted as if studying her. Its mouth, too wide, too full of teeth, curled into something like a grin. "Not enough room for you here," Martha said, voice tight with forced calm. The thing took a step forward. The water churned around it, more hands rising from the depths, reaching, whispering.
"The swamp is rising. You belong to it now."
Martha fired. The shotgun blast lit up the room for a split second, the flash revealing something horrible. Bodies beneath the water, eyeless faces staring up at her, mouths moving in silent pleas. Then the light was gone, and the thing was still standing. It didn't bleed. It didn't stop. The water surged, hitting her chest now, the weight of unseen hands pulling her down. Martha kicked, thrashed, trying to stay above the rising flood, but it was swallowing her, pulling her under, pulling her in. She opened her mouth to scream, and the swamp filled her lungs. The next morning, the rain finally stopped. The cabin stood silent, half submerged in the flood. The door hung open. The inside was empty. Only the water remained. When the wind blew through the trees, carrying the scent of damp earth and decay, the swamp whispered.
"The swamp is rising, and it is never full."